Hi, it's Kristen, and I am reading pirate books. I have loved pirate stories for years, ever since I was a child. I don't know where where the interest or the love comes from. When I was a kid, I loved Pirates of the Caribbean, as a lot of people did. Um, and as an adult, I love Black Sails. Great pirate show. Yeah, I've always had an interest in pirates. Um, and yeah, I don't know why, but I do. So in this vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 pirate books, and each one that I have on my list as like a potential is like a different genre, or different age range, which I think is fun because that sort of varies this up a bit. So I will tell you what the books are as I read them, but just know they're all piratey. It's not like other all fantasy pirate stories. We've got a range going on, so that's exciting. So let's get into this swashbuckling vlog. So I've been reading Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller, and for the most part I've been enjoying it. We have our main character, who is this 17-year-old pirate, daughter of the Pirate King, and she's let herself be captured by enemy pirates so that she can infiltrate their ship and find something. My problem so far is that it's a bit repetitive, in that she's captured, she sneaks out of her cell, searches the ship, lets herself be captured again, and put back in her cell. She manages to sneak out, she searches the ship, she sneaks back into her cell. She breaks out of her cell. Like, yeah, you get what I mean. Repetitive. But we've just had a bit of a change in what's happening. So I think that repetitiveness will stop now, because there's been a shift in the plot and in like the character dynamics. It's an enemies to lovers. She's got like a thing going on with the first mate, the captain's brother on the enemy ship, and like they've got kind of fun, snarky banter, but things, I don't know if we'll find out there's like more to it, more behind his reasoning or something, but it just seemed to move quite quickly. Even if you go, oh yeah, they're attracted to each other, it seemed to just, yeah, shift to like potential romance quite quickly. So I'm not sure, but it's very readable, so I'm whizzing through it now. So I finished reading Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. This one I enjoyed. I didn't love it as much as I think I could have if I'd read it earlier. So this came out in 2017, so I would have been 21, 22 when it first came out, and I think if I'd read it then, I could have enjoyed it more than I did at this point in my life. But if this had been a book when I was a teenager, I think I would have loved this. Obviously it wasn't released when I was a teenager, so there was no chance of me reading it when I was a teenager. But this kind of book as a teen, I would have like eaten up. Which makes sense because it's young adults, so it's aimed at teenagers. It's aimed at young adults. So yeah, if you're a teen, or you know a teen who loves like pirate stories with very like take no shit female characters, bit of a like sort of an enemies to lovers, or like enemies who sort of have romantic interest in each other dynamics, then I think this is a good to go to. I guess my thing is that everyone was like, it's enemies to lovers, it's enemies to lovers. And it is, in that Alosa and Raiden are on like opposite pirate crews. They have like opposing goals. Alosa is Raiden's older brother Draxon, the captain of the ship, is his prisoner. And so there's obviously that dynamic. But I do think because we're in Alosa's head, we see her going like, he's kind of cute, but like I am here to do my mission. I can't get distracted. Or like the times where she does sort of lean into the romantic tension between them. In the back of her mind, we know she's thinking, and I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm going to trick him. I'm going to like, you know, have this moment with him, and then when he falls asleep, I'm going to like go out and continue looking for what I'm looking for. So we have all those moments from her perspective. So we know that she does have like genuine interest and grows to like have some sort of feeling of protectiveness or like caring towards him. But that she always has like her goal as an underlying thing. But because we don't get his perspective, it just seems like he's harsh with her at first, but then takes an interest in her quite quickly and is quite protective of her, or like looking out for her quite early on. And I just sort of wish, if we're doing like enemies to lovers, that they'd actually been enemies for a good deal longer. But it's ended in an interesting way. It's definitely not like one finished story and there's a sequel that can continue things. This is definitely like part one of a story. There's no definitive end. It ends very much with many questions and wondering like, what's this character going to do next? How are they going to get out of this? What does this mean? And so yeah, I do want to read book 2. I probably won't in this video, but I would like to continue on. So I enjoyed it enough to continue on. I think for me, this is like a 3.5 stars. I think as a teen, it would have been like a really easy 4 stars at least. But I think that's again indicative of the fact that I'm a fully grown adult. As much as I can enjoy YA still, it's often not gonna hit the same as if I read it when I was a teenager, or the way that like adult books impact me now. Also like a case in this of like, I liked Alosa, our main character, but I did feel that she was a bit one note for most of it. Like we do see her grow to like care or have some sort of feeling toward Raiden, and we do know that she cares about like her crew on her ship, but otherwise she is quite just like, I'm a tough girl, I was brought up to be tough, I'm a fighter, I'm like this, I'm that. There's a lot of like her telling us she's good at XYZ, and then we do see that in moments like she really easily knocks out a guard or sneaks out or picks a lock with ease. But I guess in that sense I never felt like any actual worry for her, because she seems so confident in her abilities. And yeah, whenever she is in peril, she seems to get out of it quite easily. So I was never particularly worried for her as a character, even towards the end when she is actually put in some peril or like a tricky situation. But yeah, enjoyable enough characters, enjoyable enough character dynamics, relationships and stuff. I think I talked before about how I found it a bit repetitive to start with. For like the first maybe like half of it was quite repetitive, but then we definitely had like a bit of a change up in situation. We moved about a bit, because I think with like a pirate story where you're mostly just on a pirate ship, you do have that sort of sense of your one location, so the setting is contained. But after that we did sort of go to like an island. We were in the actual sea for a little bit. So yeah, the second half definitely picked up and got more like actual plot heavy, of moving the plot along and finding out what Alosa's up to, and finding out how things connect, or bringing in different characters or obstacles to Alosa's plan. So yeah, enjoyable enough, I think. Definitely one that teenage me would have liked, one that adult me liked okay, but yeah, I would recommend to any like younger people. I mean, our main character's 17. It is a bit like dark and like talking about violence a lot, in terms of like murder and like assaults and things like that. So like an older teen, so yeah, maybe like 16, 17, 18 I think would be my recommended age group, not for a younger teen necessarily. But yeah, like a solid 3.5. Definitely interested in reading the sequel. I'm gonna move on to my next pirate book. I'm doing a risky thing for book 2 in this pirate vlog. I'm rereading like an old favourite from when I was a teenager. And this book was 5 stars for me when I was younger. It was like one of the first like proper historical romances that I read. I think it was a good start into historical romance because there's no like sex scenes. Like the most there is like kissing. So I think that was a good entryway until I discovered I liked historical romances. And then as I was older I went on to read more sort of intense historical romances. But that is To Catch a Pirate by Jade Parker. This one I saw when I was younger and it just sounded like really interesting to me, to teenage me. You get to see my lovely Batman pajamas right now. So we have our main character Annalisa, and she is on a ship with her father, who is supposed to be going to the Caribbean to set up a new like Providence. And their ship gets attacked by pirates, and she hides in the hold and is discovered by James Sterling, and he says that he will keep her a secret. He won't reveal that she's hidden there, as long as she gives him something. And he goes to take her necklace, but her necklace is like one of the last things she has from her mother who recently died. So she's like, you cannot take my necklace, like have this ring instead. And so he takes the ring, and he's like, but you've got to give me something else as well. And she's like, oh my god, what? And so he takes a kiss from her. And then a year later, she vows to like get revenge on him and the other pirates from his ship. So that's the basic premise that I thought was like really fun and a little bit silly when I was younger. And then I read it and I ate this book up. I loved this book when I was younger. I reread it a few times. I think I first read it when I was like, I don't know, 16, 17 maybe. And then I reread it in my first year of uni because I wanted a like comfort book. I took some like old favourites with me to uni, and this was one of them. And I reread it when I was 18, and then I reread it again, I want to say when I finished my second year of uni, maybe my third year. I think it was my second year, which would have been when I was 20. Yeah, that sounds right. That's the age as I was, right? So yeah, I've read it a few times at like sort of different points in my life, but I've not read it since then. So it has been like, yeah, eight and a half years since I read it. So I know that like younger me liked it and bought into like all the like cute silly romance stuff. Um but does fully grown adult me like it? That is a question I will have the answer to when I've read it. I do wish, this is like my little niggle with it, I do wish that Annalisa was just like 1 or 2 years older than she is, because in the prologue, which is set like a year before, she's 16, which means that in the 1 year later when she's like hunting down the pirates, it must mean she's 17. And I just wish that in the prologue she was 17 and in the present day of the story, in the 1 year later, she was 18. Or even like 18 in the prologue, 19 in the like current timeline that we're reading. Because yeah, her being 17 at the oldest, I don't love. James Sterling's only like a couple of years older than her, I think. So there's not like a massive age difference to like skeeze you out or anything. But I just wish that she was just 1 or 2 years older. Because, you know, she'd still be a young woman in society, so that wouldn't really, like her being a couple of years older wouldn't change or affect like the position that she's in within society. I would just be slightly more comfortable with it. And also I feel like it wouldn't massively affect things because she's still a young woman, so people wouldn't like listen to her still, particularly. But in terms of her like captaining a ship, I don't know many grown men who would listen to what a 17-year-old girl was saying and telling them to do. I don't know many men who would listen to a 19-year-old, but you know, I think having her just be slightly older. I really liked this and had a lot of fun with it when I was younger. So I think even if I'm like, yeah, it's not actually that good in terms of what I thought when I was younger, I think I'll always love it for like the nostalgia that I have for it. I will let you know how it goes down. Okay, Anna's just had a birthday, which I'm assuming means she's 18 now. I forgot that she had a birthday because it's not a massive plot point, but for my own ease of mind, I'm going with the fact that she's 18. Yeah. Anyway, we've got slightly further into the plot. James Sterling is Anna's prisoner and he's sort of seemingly reluctantly helping her, but may have his own plans that Anna and her men don't know about. I finished reading To Catch a Pirate by Jade Parker. This one, as I said before, is like an old teenage favourite of mine. 5 stars from in the past. It was not 5 stars this time, but it will always be a 5 star in my heart because the previous 3 or 4, however many times I read it, it was 5 stars. This time I give it 4 stars, and some of that is because of the nostalgia and just past love that I have for it. It's a fun historical pirate romance. I think the chemistry and the conversations that, you know, make you believe these characters care about each other are good. I think they're believable. I do like Annalisa and James. This very much gives me Pirates of the Caribbean vibes. So if you like Pirates of the Caribbean, you'll probably like this. We have Annalisa, who's this young woman who has a father who's in like a prominent position and has money and status, and so that's very much sort of like Elizabeth Swann. James Sterling is this young man who's sort of pulled into piracy. He feels a bit like a Will Turner type mixed with some like Captain Jack. And then we have Nathaniel Northrop, who is in love with Annalisa, but she just sort of views him as a friend, a confidant, someone who's helping her. And Nathaniel Northrop very much feels like Commodore Norrington type. I don't really like him. I like Commodore Norrington sort of in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. I don't like Nathaniel Northrop in this. But I think James and Annalisa, my enjoyment of them and their relationship sort of pulls me through the story, because it's such a short book. Their relationship is sort of the whole focus of things, but there is definitely a plot behind it. It's just them sort of having conversations and parrying back and forth with their words and their swords, and getting to know each other. I also like this because there's a lot of like grey morality and people using each other even when they care about each other, and I quite like that almost like double crossing, betraying. I always find that quite fun in stories, even when it comes back to like the characters genuinely care about and love each other, but it's like, do you do what's best for you? Do you do what's best for the other person? Can you do both? At what stage do you do either or? Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, adventurous, quite sweet. Yeah, I think the ending is a bit rushed because it's so short. I feel like it could have been just a few pages longer so the ending wasn't so abrupt. But overall, I do really enjoy this as a fun story. Fun historical romance. Would recommend if you want like a decent pirate romance, if you like Pirates of the Caribbean kind of stuff, or if you want like historical romance without any sex scenes or steaminess or anything, because there's like tension and kisses, but that's the most of things. But yeah, glad I reread this after so long. I think it will always remain like in my memory as one of my favourites, and it will always have a place on my shelves. So yes, that was To Catch a Pirate. Please excuse the bedraggled wet hair look. I had a shower and then the postman came and delivered some exciting post. So originally this video I was just going to read Daughter of the Pirate King, To Catch a Pirate and Treasure Island, and that was going to be it, because I feel like in these reading vlogs I normally only read like about 3 books around the theme, of which this is pirates. However, the postman delivered it's The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty, and this is the epic story of one of the Indian Ocean's most notorious female pirates. This I really liked the sound of when it came out last year, but it was only available in hardback before, and it's just come out in paperback. So I have it. I pre-ordered it towards the end of last year because I knew it was coming out in paperback, and it's just arrived, and it's so beautiful, like just stunning. And I thought, since I'm doing a pirate vlog and like this pirate book that I was really excited about just arrived, like literally just arrived, it makes sense to read this for this vlog. Hope that's okay. I just can't get over how gorgeous this cover is, like all the details and the gold. Oh, so this is a little bonus read that I'm doing. Also, it works with my goal of like trying to read my pre-orders as they come in and trying to get to my new purchases quicker. I'm just gonna make myself read this like almost straight away. So yeah, I'm so excited. So I have been reading The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi for over 2 weeks now, like on and off, mostly off. I don't know what it is. I think not in a reading mood at the moment, which is a shame because I really want to like this book, and I don't think me taking ages between picking it up is helping me get into the story. Although I will say I hit like 100 pages and not a lot had happened story-wise. Like we'd got the basic setup of this woman coming to Amina and saying, my granddaughter's been kidnapped, can you like help find her? And then we had Amina like heading off and finding her old boat and some of her old crew, and that was all that had happened, like 100 pages in. But at that point things then picked up a bit. We've had like a prison break, we've had them finding a contact, and things going badly with that. So the story's definitely picking up now that I'm 139 pages in. So I'm sort of hoping this is going to be one of those cases where it takes me like 2 weeks to read the first third of a book and then I read the rest of it in a couple of days. I'm hoping that's the situation I'm in, because like when I am reading it, I am getting into it, but when I'm not reading it, I'm just not picking it up, you know. But I do think that's like more of a me problem than that is a book problem. So like don't attribute that to the book necessarily. That's just me finding other stuff to do and getting caught up in other stuff instead of reading, which happens every now and then to all of us, I think. But yeah, now I'm like trying to make more of an effort to actually pick it up. I'm hoping to really get into the story. Things have definitely picked up for me and this book. I personally feel like I've got my reading mojo back a bit, which I'm very happy about. And then the book, I'm about halfway through now, I think just over halfway through. It's definitely picked up. Amina has sort of like got the band back together by getting a few of her old crew back, her ship back. They're like off actively like searching. We've got more backstory for Amina and one of her husbands, and it just definitely feels like we're getting a bit more action, more characters interacting, that kind of thing. So I'm really enjoying it. Not that I wasn't enjoying it before, but I'm enjoying it like a lot more now. And I'm just really looking forward to continuing and finishing this, and I will let you know further thoughts. I guess I'll update again when something like big has happened or something I feel like I can talk about. I'll try and do at least another one before the end. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot better about me myself reading, and like reading this in particular, because I think because I just wasn't like feeling reading in general, but I'd already like got a little chunk of the way into this, so I didn't want to like completely put it down. But I knew I was almost doing like a disservice to this book because it is one I've been really excited about and one that has the potential to be one I really enjoy. And because I wasn't like in the mood to read, I think that was affecting my enjoyment of this. But now I'm feeling better about reading and I'm really enjoying this, so yay! So I recently finished The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. Even though this took me ages to read, in terms of like, I picked it up and then I wouldn't read anything for like days, and then I'd pick it up and read like a chapter, and then I wouldn't read for days. So like, in terms of time, it took me like 3 weeks to read. You might assume that I didn't like it. I actually really liked this one. I know I've been a bit up and down in this, saying like the beginning is slow. I wasn't really in the mood to read, so that affected it, but wasn't necessarily reflective of the book itself. But the second half of this, I felt really picked up. That's not to say the first half was bad, because it was like setting the scene, setting up circumstances, that kind of thing. But I do think it was slower. But the second half of this, I really liked. It took a few turns that I wasn't necessarily expecting, which was interesting to read. I really liked Amina as a character. I find like morally grey characters very interesting, or just characters who have like their own sort of set of morals interesting. Amina has like a very checkered past, so she's sort of dealing with that, and how like the past when she was a pirate and a bandit and traveling, and she had like this reputation, is very different to how she is now being a pirate and traveling, because she has a daughter now that she didn't have previously, so she can't be as reckless, but at the same time she feels more of a need to like save the world in a way, because before she was just sort of careless and like, oh, I do things for myself and my crew, whereas now she's like, oh, all these, you know, things happening, if they affect the world, they affect my child's future. And so I think that's an interesting take for the character to have. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I liked that the characters were all older, and did have like families, or like aching joints whenever they fought. They didn't just like bounce back. They were just like, oh no, this is like an injury. And so I thought that was very fun. It does get quite dark. There's some like gory kind of body horror-esque stuff in here, based on like magic and curses and things. But yeah, I really liked this one. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I'm so glad I did, because I've been really looking forward to this one, and it sounded like right up my alley, and I'm glad that it was. So I'm definitely going to be picking up the sequels to this. I think it's supposed to be a trilogy. This is book 1, obviously. The other books aren't out yet, but when they are, I will definitely be getting them. I think we left things in a very interesting place. I think the characters are very fun, like Amina and her crew. They have like a great sort of like bantery chemistry, but they obviously really care about each other. But they're also quite like snarky and humorous with each other as well. And I really enjoyed their interactions and like the whole dynamic there. So yeah, if you want like older characters in your fantasy, this one I would really recommend. If you want female pirates, I would really recommend. If you want morally grey characters, or like characters who are sort of inherently good and like, or trying to be better, but also having to like broker questionable deals and things in order to fulfill like what they want, then yeah, this is a great one. Highly recommend it. Again, like I said, the beginning is a bit slow in terms of setting things up, but if you stick with it, I think it really amped up from like 100 pages in, definitely from the halfway point. But yeah, this one was great. Really glad I read it and added it into this vlog, even though I wasn't intending to, but it has drawn out this vlog. So yeah, one last pirate book to go. I'm going to be reading Treasure Island. I'm now starting Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This has been a book I've been interested in for a long time, and my aim is to read more classics this year, so I thought this was like a good fit to round off this selection of books in this video. So my knowledge of Treasure Island basically comes from having seen Treasure Planet, the animated film, and Black Sails, the TV series. Both very different types of media. But Treasure Planet is the story of Treasure Island, basically, but a sci-fi version, like set in space. I think there's like aliens. That's what we've got going on. It's been years since I watched it, but maybe I'll give it a rewatch once I read this. And then Black Sails is a TV series that is like a prequel to Treasure Island, so we have some of the same characters, and it's sort of the story of how Long John Silver became Long John Silver as like a person, as a legend, as like a myth, and I love it. It's such a good series. So now I'm excited to actually go to the original source material and see what I think. So yeah, we've just got Jim Hawkins, this young lad who stumbles across a treasure map among a dead man's possessions, and then he just gets pulled into this world of piracy. That's, yeah, pretty much all I know of the actual full plot of the original story. So I think I'm just gonna jump into this. I will update you as I go along. It's okay. I'm not loving it, if I'm honest. It's at least a quick read. The chapters are quite short, so I'm at least like getting through it. Although considering it's only like 200 and so pages, I have been reading it for a few days. So not reading it as fast as I would read a typical like 200-page book. And I don't know that that's because it's like a classic and the language is a little like older, more dated, because I don't normally struggle with classics particularly, but it might just be because I'm not that into it at the moment. They're on the ship. I think they've actually just got to Treasure Island, so now things are kicking off. Jim, our young main character, now knows that like something is going on with the other crew members, and actually some of them are pirates. So hopefully from now on it will be a bit more pacey and interesting in terms of that kind of plot. I'm not like disliking it, but I'm also just not that into it, and I think I'd rather be reading something else at this point. But I do want to finish it. So unless it gets a lot better, this might be a slightly disappointing book to have ended this vlog on, but I'm glad I'm reading it. Last night I finished reading Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This one, I will caveat, I started reading it and thought like I'm gonna read it really quickly in like a couple of days because then I'm like off doing stuff, and I didn't read it that quickly. So then I did get busy with like trips and traveling and stuff, and then when I got back from trips and traveling, I got really sick. I'm still kind of unwell. You might be able to hear. I actually have a really bad chest infection. So like part of that was that then I couldn't concentrate very well, so I was feeling a bit like feverish and disoriented and just not in the mood to do anything much than like lie or sit and like watch things. So I then wasn't like in the mood to read anything. But I will say I didn't really enjoy this one, and so that also didn't help. I did get about halfway through, maybe just over halfway through, and then found an audiobook that I could listen to, because even though the chapters are really short, and so it was like easy to read and like kept me reading when I was physically reading it, in that sense, when I wasn't reading it, I just never really wanted to pick it up. So I was like, if I find an audiobook, maybe that will help. And it did, but also in terms of like the story, I just wasn't enjoying it enough to like keep paying a ton of attention. So when I was listening to the audiobook, even though it was helping me get through the story, there were points where I'd realised I'd just like kind of tuned out, where I was like listening but not really paying attention. So the audiobook helped me get through it, but also didn't help me pay attention to exactly what was going on. I got the gist of it. I was reading it. I did like go back a couple of times and just go, okay, yeah, that was what was happening. This one I was just so excited for because I wanted to read more classics. I thought this could be a good one. I love pirate stories. I like the like media I've seen around this story, like different adaptations of it. So I was really excited to read like the actual the core text. And I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really feel connected to any of the characters particularly. I guess I liked Jim, our main character. He, I think, was very daring. He made some bold choices, which I don't know that I personally would have made, but he was a very brave character, so I guess he was likable. But everyone else, I didn't really feel that connected to or bothered about, and I guess part of that is because, again, when like characters do start fighting and like dying, the way it's told is in the way that I think some classics fall into, where they're very descriptive when they're talking about like the setting, and like in this it was like very descriptive, couple of pages talking about Jim's journey through the like walking through the trees and onto the beach and going on the boat, and like very descriptive talking about the way the water rippled and stuff, and then it would be like 2 sentences to go, oh, and this character died. I feel like that is a thing that you do see in some classics, that they do just go, oh, this character died, oh, this thing happened, it led to a character dying, and you're just like, okay, sure. But the way it's described is just like, oh, the bullet pierced this thing and then the character's eyes closed and he was no more, and I'm like, excuse me. So some of the character deaths felt quite flippant, and so I guess that also didn't help with me like caring about the characters. So yeah, I
I'm glad I read this to say that I read Treasure Island, but it is not anywhere as near as like good or as enjoyable as I hoped it would be. And perhaps if I'd read this when I wasn't feeling ill, when I wasn't really busy before that, maybe I would have enjoyed it more, or enjoyed like the second half of it more. Um, but that being said, I did read like the first half of it when I wasn't that busy and I wasn't ill, and I still wasn't really enjoying it. So I just think it's one that's not for me, but potentially one for you. I don't know. So yeah, not a great end to this vlog. Ended on the worst book. I think my favourite book was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, even though that one took me a long time to read. I loved like the second half of it, or like the second, or the 2/3 of it after the introductory sort of section. I really enjoyed that one. It was fun to read To Catch a Pirate again, even though I have to admit it's not a 5-star read for me anymore. Daughter of the Pirate King was fun, and actually since I read that book in this vlog, I've actually read the sequel to it, and I enjoyed the sequel even more, Daughter of the Siren Queen. So that was a great duology. Tricia Levenseller has come out with another book that's in the series but not following our main character, different main character who was a side character in the duology. So I would be interested in reading that. But yeah, I revisited an old favourite. Finally read books I borrowed from my sister that I've been reading through for a while. Read a newer book that I'd got and really enjoyed that. Read a classic, even if I didn't love it. I read a classic. I got another book off my TBR. I got a charity shop read off my TBR. Overall, even though ratings of things have been sort of up and down, and experiences of things have been up and down, and this vlog collectively has taken me ages, just because of taking breaks and reading other things in between books, and then how long it took me to read this and The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. Like, cumulatively, this vlog has taken me months. I'm glad I read these books. Are there any pirate books that you would recommend? Do you think you're going to give any of the ones that I've read a go? If you do have any recommendations, please leave them below. I love female-centric pirate stories in particular. Love me a pirate romance, as long as it's like consensual and not sketchy. So yeah, if you've got any recommendations, leave them below and I will definitely check them out. So thank you so much for watching this slightly haphazard pirate reading vlog, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.